Today we're going to show you how to troubleshoot the Acura Legend LSGS Bose amplifier for a number of problems. No audio, one side out, one speaker out, speakers bad, static, and so on. There's a slew of problems with these amplifiers. In many cases it's a Bose amplifier, and I still repair those amplifiers. There's videos on the website in regards to the head units in these vehicles, and the LS, the standard, and the G as well. But we're going to start with the LSGS. This one has 3 connectors coming into it, and with it connected in the car on the back side of this connector, the larger brown one with 6 connectors, in the center are 2 wires here. And these 2 wires are black and orange. And what we want to do with the vehicle turned on and the stereo turned on, check across these in volt function with your voltmeter. You are going to need a voltmeter, a Phillips screwdriver, and a 1/4-inch drive as well. We want to check these 2 for 12 volts. Of course, we're going on the assumption here that you've checked all the fuses in the car, including the fuses under the hood. This will tell us if we're getting main power to the amplifier. There is a second trigger wire that comes in from the stereo that supplies a trigger to this that energizes 2 relays to allow this 12 volts to pass and power the amplifiers. And in order to check that, we also want to check from ground, we'll say over here, to this bottom pin on the bottom right here. With the stereo on, we should have 12 volts. Now, if both these 12 volts are present, we're going to have possibly amplifier problems, but we can at that point disconnect the amplifier. I have put together several diagrams here dealing with these connectors. I'll go over them here in a little bit, but we have the car side of these main connectors, which deal with going directly to the speakers. This one will be front speakers, this one will be rear speakers, and sometimes you may have a side out as well. So to go a little bit further, we can remove the 10 screws along the bottom. I've already done 8 of them, so I'm going to remove these last 2. Again, I have more help on the website in regards to the head units, the diagrams. I have a mess of them for this amplifier, so wait till the end to see those. But opening up the amplifier, this is what we have. I do have a diagram for this as well, and what this tells us is that this is the left front amp, the right front amp, the left rear amp, and the right rear amp. Now, if you could have problems with maybe one channel being out, at this point you can go to a connector at whatever speaker it is that's out, remove this amplifier, and plug it into a different position. This can test it, see if the problem follows the amplifier or remains on the same side. If the problem remains on the same side, we're going to have to go back to the diagrams for this to test the speakers. There's also 2 fuses on this circuit board here. One of the fuses going out can cause one whole side to be out. These fuses are located, again, I'll show the diagram at the end, but mainly they're right here at the end. And with your voltmeter to the ground connection, which I happen to know is right here, this is 12 volts from the orange and black wires coming in from the main connector. And from the same ground connector, we have the switched power coming in, which is way over here on this side for the radio being on. But we also have the 2 fuses, and we want to read both sides of the fuse for 12 volts to ground to make sure 12 volts is getting through these fuses, one here and one here. You can ohm them out in ohm function, or you can plug the amplifier in and check to see if 12 volts is getting there. Many cases you'll also hear the relay click. At this point you can go back to the white connector. I should have a diagram for this one too at the end, and you can hook up a speaker to that white connector, and with the volume at full volume you can test to see if there's any output. This is with the amplifier disconnected, and you can test each set of speakers. You can also, with the speakers here, when you ohm them out for the going out to the main speakers, you can take a small battery and with the plus and minus touch it to the speaker leads. It'll pop a speaker and make it make a sound. But if it's more than that, amplifiers we still repair. Let me go over the diagrams here. The first diagram we have here is the layout of the amplifiers. After we've checked all the powers and the powers seem to be good, sometimes we may have a fuse out on one side and one amplifier is burnt on that side, which is blowing the fuse. But the amplifiers are located right front, left rear, and right rear. Now these amplifiers can be swapped around for testing purposes. You will have to remove the Phillips screw here and disconnect the amps to remove the 4 screws securing the amplifiers. But this will help you troubleshoot. These amplifiers are not all the same. The front 2 amplifiers are the same, and the rear 2 amplifiers are the same. Front and rear are not the same in this enclosure, but they can be put into different positions for testing. The second diagram I have here is for all the wires coming in, the connectors being hooked up to the main motherboard here before going into the amplifiers. This smaller connector is the speaker out. You have left and right rear speakers out. With the diagram you can either ohm out the connectors in the car or test with popping with the battery. This connector, again, this one has the right front and left front speakers, along with the 2 at the bottom here. The orange and black are the power to the amplifier. So this is out for the speakers, and in for power. The smaller white connector here in the center here, this one supplies all the audio input. I have a diagram for that, but when it comes to this diagram, we're looking for, for this diagram, we're looking for 12 volts at this point here to ground, and 12 volts on each side of the fuses here, which are down here in the diagram, and 2 connections here as well with the fuse on the other side, fuse 1 and fuse 2. This should help with problems with one side completely being out. If you have a specific speaker out, swapping the amplifiers will help determine whether it's an amplifier problem or a speaker problem in this. We have the final white connector, which we mentioned, which is the inputs for the radio. This one, again, with a speaker, you can hook up to the left rear and left rear plus and minus. At full volume, you should hear some audio through that speaker. That goes the same for testing all these. This is testing the input from the stereo and head unit to make sure that it's getting here as well. And then we have over on the one side the 12 volt trigger. This one gets applied to the amplifier. Once the radio turns on, 12 volts comes in, energizes the relays on both sides of this unit, and allows the 12 volts to pass through the fuses to power the amplifiers. Hope this video has been helpful. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching.